Hi, my name is Melissa, and I am 30 years old. I live in Denver, Colorado, with my husband Benjamin. Life has been a beautiful journey for us, especially now as we eagerly wait to welcome our first child into the world. I'm already 8 months pregnant, and every single kick, flutter, and heartbeat fills us both with joy and excitement. Benjamin and I have worked incredibly hard to prepare for this new chapter. For the past 2 years, we've made saving for our baby's future our highest priority. Benjamin works as an IT consultant, often taking extra freelance projects, while I manage finances as a full-time accountant. We both cut down on unnecessary expenses, skip vacations, and sacrifice luxuries, all to build a strong financial safety net for any unexpected medical needs during or after delivery. Together, we managed to save $150,000 specifically for our baby's hospital expenses, treatments, and care. It's not just money to us, it's peace of mind, knowing that no matter what happens, we can give our child the best possible care. Throughout my pregnancy, Benjamin has been my rock. He attends every doctor's appointment, helps set up the nursery, and even reads parenting books with me at night. We've painted the nursery soft sky blue, assembled the crib together, and stocked up on all the baby essentials. Every detail is filled with love and hope. One of the biggest blessings in my life has also been Benjamin's mother, Evelyn. Since my own parents live far away, Evelyn has stepped into that motherly role for me with open arms. She's kind, warm, and deeply excited about becoming a grandmother. She often invites us over for lunch, makes my favorite meals, and gives me helpful advice from her own experiences. But as happy as these moments are, not everything has been smooth. Christina, Benjamin's older sister, has always had a complicated relationship with us. Over the years, she's struggled with infertility, which I truly sympathize with. But instead of finding peace, Christina has allowed her pain to turn into resentment toward me. I've always tried to stay kind and respectful, avoiding any conflicts, but her passive-aggressive remarks never fail to sting. To avoid tension, Benjamin and I usually plan our visits to Evelyn's house at times when Christina isn't expected to be there. Most days, this simple strategy works. But little did I know, soon our lives would spiral into something far darker and far more dangerous than I could have ever imagined. As my pregnancy continued into the second month, Benjamin and I finally heard our baby's heartbeat for the very first time. That soft, rapid thumping filled the room during the ultrasound appointment and made both of us tear up. It was real. There was a tiny life growing inside me. That night, we celebrated quietly at home, holding each other a little tighter than usual, overwhelmed by joy and gratitude. As weeks passed, my morning sickness slowly faded, and by the time I entered my 5th month, we reached another milestone, the gender reveal appointment. I remember lying on the exam table while Benjamin held my hand, both of us nervous, yet excited. The ultrasound technician smiled and said, "Congratulations, it's a boy." Tears filled my eyes. Benjamin kissed my forehead and whispered, "Our little Bobby." We had already chosen the name months ago, but hearing it confirmed made everything feel even more real. With every passing month, Benjamin and I became more prepared, both emotionally and financially. We finished painting Bobby's nursery, assembling his crib, and organizing tiny clothes by size. By the 7th month, our savings had finally reached $150,000, a strong safety net that gave us peace of mind. Through it all, Evelyn remained my constant support system. She visited often, cooked for us, brought vitamins, and even accompanied me to a few doctor appointments when Benjamin's work got busy. She was beyond excited to become a grandmother, constantly crocheting little baby blankets for Bobby. Her warmth helped calm many of my new mom fears. But as beautiful as these moments were, the shadows of Christina's bitterness never completely disappeared. While we mostly avoided face-to-face interactions with her, there were times when our paths inevitably crossed, and every encounter felt like walking on glass. One Sunday afternoon, Evelyn invited us over for lunch. She had made my favorite, her special roast chicken with garlic butter. Benjamin and I arrived with flowers for her, hoping for a peaceful meal. But as soon as we stepped inside, my heart sank. Christina was already sitting at the dining table. Her eyes met mine, and though she forced a smile, the sharp coldness behind her gaze was impossible to miss. "Well, look at you," she said, her tone laced with sarcasm. "Still playing the delicate pregnant princess, I see." I took a slow breath, trying not to react. "Hello, Christina," I replied softly, keeping my composure. Benjamin immediately stepped in, his voice calm but firm. "Enough, Christina. We're here for lunch, not your snide comments." Christina shrugged, pretending innocence. "I was just making small talk. Don't be so sensitive." Evelyn, ever the peacemaker, quickly redirected the conversation towards safer topics, asking about the nursery, suggesting baby names, though Bobby was already settled, and talking about weather and recipes. We all tried to follow her lead, but the underlying tension remained heavy throughout the meal. Christina kept her distance for most of the afternoon, scrolling on her phone and occasionally rolling her eyes whenever Evelyn gushed over Bobby's upcoming arrival. Despite the discomfort, I reminded myself to stay calm. This was only a few hours, and soon we'd return home to our peaceful little bubble. What I didn't know was that this simple lunch would be one of the last calm moments before everything unraveled completely. A few days after that tense lunch, Benjamin had a busy morning filled with meetings and errands. Since I was feeling fairly well that day, I decided to visit Evelyn alone. She had invited me over to help her sort through some baby supplies she had been collecting, a task that always lifted my spirits. The house felt as warm and inviting as ever when I arrived. The smell of fresh-baked banana bread filled the air as Evelyn welcomed me with a bright smile. "Come in, sweetheart. I baked your favorite," she said, leading me into the kitchen. We spent the next hour chatting, folding baby clothes, and talking about last-minute things I might need for Bobby's arrival. These simple moments with Evelyn always made me feel supported, as though I had a second mother by my side. But the peaceful mood didn't last. Just as I stood to grab another box of tiny onesies, I heard the front door open. My stomach tightened immediately. I knew that voice. Christina. She strolled into the living room, barely glancing my way. "Oh, it's you," she said flatly. "Didn't think you'd be here today." I kept my tone polite but cautious. "I didn't know you'd be here either." Evelyn, sensing the sudden tension, quickly excused herself to the upstairs bedroom to grab a few old storage bins, leaving me momentarily alone with Christina. My pulse quickened. I didn't like being alone with her, but I also didn't want to appear weak. Christina put her phone down and looked straight at me. This time, there was no sarcasm, only cold determination. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice sharp. "It's about the money." I frowned, confused. "What money?" "The $150,000 you and Benjamin saved for the baby," she said bluntly, crossing her arms. "I need it." I froze, stunned by her audacity. "That money is for Bobby's medical care, Christina. We saved for emergencies, just in case anything happens during or after delivery." "You don't even know if you'll need it," she snapped. "Meanwhile, I'm drowning in debt for my fertility treatments. Family is supposed to help each other, and you're being selfish." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "I'm truly sorry for everything you've gone through, but this money isn't negotiable. It's for my son's health and safety. I can't give it to you." Her face twisted with anger. "You don't deserve any of this. You just married Lucky. You've never struggled like I have. You don't even appreciate how blessed you are." Before I could respond, Evelyn's voice called down the stairs. "Everything okay down there?" I quickly answered, "Yes, Evelyn. We're fine." But inside, I knew things were far from fine. The way Christina was staring at me, the bitterness radiating from her, told me that something inside her had snapped. The air grew thick with tension. Christina's eyes were burning with fury now, her breathing heavier, her hands clenched tightly into fists. I could feel my heart racing, my instincts screaming at me that I was no longer safe standing here alone with her. "You think you're better than me?" she hissed, stepping closer. "You don't deserve Benjamin. You don't deserve this baby." "Christina, please calm down," I said, my voice shaking but still controlled. This isn't the way to handle anything. Just stop. Before I could finish my sentence, she lunged forward with terrifying speed. Her foot connected directly with my swollen belly in a sharp, vicious kick. A scream escaped my mouth as searing pain exploded through my abdomen. My body doubled over instinctively, my hands wrapping protectively around my stomach as tears filled my eyes. And then I felt it. A sudden gush of warm fluid soaking through my clothes and running down my legs. My water just broke. I gasped, trembling in terror. But Christina wasn't done. With my body weakened and hunched forward, she reached out, grabbed a fistful of my hair, and yanked it violently backward, pulling my head up. Sharp pain shot through my scalp as I cried out. Then, with cruel aggression, she used her other hand to grab my face, squeezing my cheeks and mouth harshly, her nails digging into my skin. She snarled, "Maybe if I ruin your perfect little life now, you'll finally understand real pain." I was sobbing uncontrollably, struggling to breathe through the tight grip she had on my face. The baby, my precious Bobby, was all I could think about. Every second felt like an eternity. Suddenly, a loud scream erupted from behind us. "Christina!" Evelyn shouted from the hallway. She had returned from upstairs and now stood frozen in horror as she witnessed her daughter attacking me. In a flash, Evelyn rushed forward, pure rage in her voice. Without hesitation, she slapped Christina hard across the face with a sharp crack that echoed through the room. "What is wrong with you?" Evelyn screamed. "She's 8 months pregnant. You've crossed the line this time, far beyond anything I ever imagined." Christina stumbled back, momentarily stunned by her mother's fury. Evelyn didn't waste another second. She fumbled to grab her phone while shouting at me. "Melissa, stay with me. Don't move. I'm calling Benjamin. I'm calling 911 right now." My vision blurred as the pain intensified. My breath was shallow, but I nodded weakly, grateful that Evelyn was here. Within minutes, everything turned into chaos. Benjamin arrived in a panic, his face pale as he rushed toward me. He gripped my hand as the paramedics carefully lifted me onto a stretcher. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, "I'm here, sweetheart. I've got you. Bobby's going to be okay. Just hold on." The police followed close behind. Officer Scott, with calm but firm authority, stepped forward as his team secured Christina's wrists in handcuffs. "You're under arrest for felony assault and endangering an unborn child," Officer Scott stated coldly. "You have the right to remain silent." Christina, still breathing heavily, tried to protest, but Evelyn cut her off sharply. "Enough. You brought this on yourself, Christina. You've gone too far, and now you'll face the consequences." As Benjamin rode with me in the ambulance, Officer Scott and his team took Christina into custody. Evelyn stayed behind to provide the police with full access to her home's security cameras, which had captured the entire horrifying assault on video, undeniable evidence of her daughter's crime. Everything had changed. My peaceful pregnancy had turned into a nightmare, but the fight to protect my baby had only just begun. The ride to the hospital felt like a blur, flashing red lights, the steady beeping of the machines in the ambulance, Benjamin's panicked voice whispering words of comfort, and my own tears streaming down my cheeks. The sharp pain continued to pulse through my body while I desperately tried to stay conscious, focusing on Bobby's safety. "Stay with me, Melissa. Just breathe. We're almost there," Benjamin kept repeating, squeezing my hand as if afraid to let go. The paramedics worked quickly, monitoring my vitals and administering medication to control the pain. One of them spoke gently. "You're doing great, Melissa. Just hold on for your little one." As we arrived at the hospital, a team of doctors and nurses were already waiting. The doors flew open as they wheeled me inside, rushing me into the emergency maternity unit. Bright lights surrounded me, and I could hear the urgency in the medical staff's voices. "Prepare for emergency C-section. Preterm labor, approximately 34 weeks." I felt Benjamin's hand slip from mine as the team separated him to prep for surgery. His face disappeared behind the flurry of medical staff. I whispered softly before they wheeled me into the operating room. Please take care of our son. The last thing I saw before drifting into anesthesia was Benjamin mouthing, I love you. Hours later, I woke up in a hospital bed, groggy, my abdomen sore from surgery. The steady hum of machines and monitors surrounded me as reality slowly returned. My hands instinctively reached toward my stomach, empty now. My heart raced. Bobby, I whispered, my voice barely audible. A nurse leaned over me, gently touching my arm. Melissa, you're awake. Everything went well. Your son is stable but in the NICU. He's a strong little fighter. Tears of relief filled my eyes. My baby was alive. Moments later, Benjamin entered the room, looking exhausted but deeply relieved. His eyes were glossy as he sat beside me and took my hand. Bobby's doing okay, he whispered. He's small, but the doctors are confident. You both made it. I squeezed his hand weakly. And Christina? His jaw tightened. She's in jail, where she belongs. Officer Scott and his team arrested her on the spot. Mom handed over the full security footage from the living room. It captured everything. Her threats, the attack, everything. He paused for a moment before continuing. Evelyn is fully supporting us. She's staying strong, but she's heartbroken over what her daughter has done. I closed my eyes, feeling a mixture of relief, anger, and sadness. We have to make sure she's held accountable, I whispered. Benjamin nodded. I've already contacted Attorney Eric. He's gathering all the evidence. Christina's actions won't go unpunished. Though my body ached, my mind was clear. This fight wasn't over. She had almost destroyed my child's life, and now she would finally face the full weight of justice. The days that followed felt like a delicate balance between fear and hope. Bobby was placed inside the NICU, inside a small incubator with countless wires, monitors, and machines keeping track of his every breath. His tiny chest rose and fell steadily, but every beep of the monitor kept my heart suspended. Benjamin and I visited him every day, spending hours sitting beside his incubator, whispering soft words through the glass. The first time I was allowed to touch his tiny hand through the small opening, tears poured down my cheeks. His little fingers curled instinctively around my finger, so small, so fragile, yet so full of life. The doctors remained cautiously optimistic. He's a strong little guy, the neonatologist assured us. At 34 weeks, babies often do very well with proper NICU care. We'll continue to monitor his breathing, feeding, and growth. Evelyn visited regularly, bringing warm meals, clean clothes, and emotional support for both of us. She sat beside me many nights, often silent, but offering the kind of comfort only a mother figure can. Every time she glanced at Bobby, I saw both love and pain in her eyes, love for her grandson, and heartbreak over her own daughter's unforgivable actions. Melissa, you're stronger than you know, she told me gently one evening. And Bobby, he's a fighter, just like his mother. Benjamin stayed by my side the entire time. Even while managing paperwork with Attorney Eric and speaking to the detectives, he never missed a single NICU visit. Each night before leaving the hospital, we stood together, watching our son sleep, whispering promises of the life we would give him once he was strong enough to come home. As the days turned into weeks, Bobby grew steadily. His breathing improved, his weight increased, and slowly, the wires and tubes started coming off one by one. The nurses, who had grown attached to him, often praised his progress. Finally, after 5 long weeks, the doctor smiled and delivered the news we had prayed for. Your son is ready to go home. I broke down into tears as Benjamin wrapped his arms around me. We're finally taking our little boy home, he whispered. The day we left the hospital with Bobby in our arms was the most emotional moment of my life. We had survived a nightmare. And now, with our baby safe in our arms, a new chapter was about to begin. One that involved healing, fighting for justice, and protecting our family's future. Once Bobby was finally home, safe and growing stronger every day, it was time to face the second battle, the legal one. Christina had tried to destroy our family, and Benjamin and I were both determined that she would face the full consequences of what she had done. Attorney Eric came to visit us at Evelyn's home one afternoon, carrying a thick folder filled with documents, medical reports, police statements, and the security footage Evelyn had provided. Eric sat across from us, his tone calm but serious. "I've reviewed everything. The evidence against Christina is overwhelming. The security footage clearly shows the assault, not only the kick to your abdomen but the hair-pulling and face-grabbing. Combined with your medical records, NICU stay, and police reports, we have a very strong case." Benjamin nodded firmly. "She almost killed my wife and my son. We want to make sure she is fully held accountable." Eric continued, "Because you were 8 months pregnant at the time of the assault, the charges are much more serious under state law. Christina will be facing multiple felony charges, including aggravated assault on a pregnant woman, reckless endangerment of an unborn child, and intentional infliction of emotional distress." I swallowed hard, my hands tightening around Bobby, who was sleeping peacefully in my arms. "How long could she be sentenced for?" Eric paused. "Given the severity of the charges and the evidence we've gathered, the prosecution will seek the maximum penalty. We'll be requesting a full prison sentence, not probation, not a slap on the wrist, but real jail time." Evelyn, sitting beside me, wiped a tear from her eye. "It breaks my heart as a mother to see what Christina has done, but she brought this on herself. Melissa, Benjamin, you both deserve justice. And Bobby deserves to grow up safe." Benjamin reached out and gently squeezed her hand. "Thank you, Mom. We couldn't have done this without you." As Eric prepared the final paperwork to formally file the charges, I looked down at Bobby's tiny face and whispered a quiet promise in my heart. "I will protect you always. No one will ever hurt you again." The legal process was officially underway. Christina would soon have to answer for every choice she made, and this time, there would be no escape from justice. 2 months later, the courtroom was filled with tension as Christina finally faced her trial. Benjamin and I sat together, holding hands tightly. Attorney Eric sat confidently beside us, his case fully prepared and backed by undeniable evidence. When Christina was led into the courtroom, she looked different, thinner, pale, and visibly nervous. Her usual arrogance was replaced with forced composure, but her eyes darted around the room, avoiding ours. The prosecution began with a powerful opening statement, outlining every detail of Christina's violent attack, the financial demand, the threats, the physical assault, and the near loss of my son's life. The video footage from Evelyn's security cameras played on a large screen, showing the entire incident exactly as it happened. The furious argument, Christina's vicious kick to my stomach, the hair-pulling and face-grabbing, my collapse as my water broke. The room fell silent as the footage ended. No one could deny what they had just witnessed. The prosecutor turned to the jury and stated firmly, this was not an accident. This was a deliberate, violent assault against a vulnerable, pregnant woman and her unborn child. Christina's defense attorney weakly tried to argue that she had acted out of emotional distress, overwhelmed by her infertility struggles. But under cross-examination, Christina's temper flared once again. Her voice shook with anger as she snapped, "I was pushed too far. She had everything I wanted. I just lost control for a moment. That's not a crime." The prosecutor calmly responded, "But it is a crime, a very serious one. Your moment of rage endangered 2 innocent lives." Benjamin's hand tightened around mine as we listened, our emotions raw but steady. When Evelyn was called to testify, she spoke softly but firmly. "I love my daughter, but what she did was unforgivable. I witnessed it with my own eyes, and I handed over the footage to the police. Melissa was like a daughter to me, and no one deserves to be attacked like that, especially while carrying a child." Finally, after several long days of testimony, the judge prepared to deliver the verdict. The courtroom grew completely still. "Christina, you've been found guilty on all charges: aggravated assault on a pregnant woman, reckless endangerment of an unborn child, and intentional infliction of emotional and psychological harm." The judge's voice remained steady and firm. "Given the severity of your actions, This court sentences you to 5 years in state prison without the possibility of early parole. Additionally, you are ordered to pay full restitution for all medical costs, emotional damages, and legal fees incurred by the victims. The sound of the gavel striking echoed through the courtroom. I exhaled a deep breath, my eyes filling with tears. But this time, they were tears of relief. Benjamin whispered into my ear, "It's over. She's finally being held accountable." As Christina was led away in handcuffs, she cast one last bitter glance in our direction. But this time, her power was gone. Justice had been served. After the trial ended, a heavy weight seemed to lift from my shoulders. The nightmare was finally behind us. Christina was now serving her prison sentence, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe freely again. Shortly after the sentencing, Evelyn sat with Benjamin and me one evening at her house. Bobby lay peacefully asleep in his bassinet beside us, his tiny chest rising and falling in perfect rhythm. Evelyn reached over and gently touched my hand. "Melissa," she said softly, "I know this has been an incredibly painful time for you. For all of us. I can never undo what Christina did, but I want you to know that my home is open to both of you, for as long as you need. I would be honored if you stayed here with me while you continue healing and raising Bobby." Her voice trembled slightly, but her sincerity was clear. I looked at Benjamin, who smiled warmly and squeezed my hand. "It would mean a lot to us, Mom," he said. "You've already done so much. We'd be grateful to stay here and start fresh together." And so, we made the decision to move in with Evelyn. Her home became our sanctuary, a place of warmth, healing, and safety. She helped me with Bobby's feedings, his doctor appointments, and those long, exhausting nights when he couldn't sleep. Every time I looked at her holding Bobby, I could see how deeply she loved him and how committed she was to making sure the cycle of pain ended with her. As the weeks passed, our home filled with laughter, soft lullabies, and tender family moments. Bobby continued to grow stronger every day. His once tiny, fragile body now filled with healthy baby fat, his curious eyes following us around the room, and his bright smile lighting up our hearts. Benjamin and I slowly settled into a new rhythm of life. We leaned on each other even more than before, grateful for the bond that had only grown stronger through everything we had survived. And Evelyn, who had once nearly lost both her daughter and her family, was finally at peace, surrounding herself with the joy of her grandson. The fear and chaos that once consumed us now felt like distant shadows. Every morning when I held Bobby in my arms, I was reminded of why we had fought so hard and why we would always continue to protect him. 1 year passed faster than I could have ever imagined. Life had found a beautiful rhythm, one that was peaceful, full of love, and far away from the chaos we once endured. Bobby had grown into a bright, healthy, and endlessly curious little boy who filled every corner of our home with laughter and light. Today was a day we had dreamed about through all the dark moments, Bobby's first birthday. Evelyn had spent the entire week planning this small celebration. Balloons filled the living room, colorful streamers hung across the windows, and the scent of freshly baked cupcakes floated through the air. On a small table sat a perfectly decorated blue and white cake with a giant number 1 candle waiting to be lit. Friends and close family gathered around, smiling, clapping, and laughing as Bobby sat in his high chair, wide-eyed and fascinated by all the excitement. Benjamin stood behind me, his arms wrapped protectively around my waist, and Evelyn sat close, her eyes glistening with quiet joy. As we sang Happy Birthday, I couldn't hold back my tears, but these tears were different. They weren't from fear, pain, or grief. They were pure gratitude. 1 year ago, I wasn't sure if Bobby or I would even survive. But now, here we were, safe, happy, together. After the song ended, I leaned down and kissed Bobby on the forehead, whispering, "You are my miracle. You are why I fought. And I always will." Benjamin smiled and added softly, "You're the reason we're stronger than ever." Evelyn placed her hand gently over mine. "You too have given this family a second chance at happiness. And Bobby, he's our new beginning. As the party continued, I stood back for a moment, watching the scene before me, my husband laughing with our friends, Evelyn holding Bobby as he giggled, and the warm glow of family surrounding us. The shadows of the past had finally faded. Christina's actions had once threatened to destroy us, but in the end, we had risen above it all, stronger, closer, and more grateful than ever before. This was our fresh start, and as I looked at my beautiful son, I knew that whatever challenges life may bring in the future, we would face them, together as a family. Thank you so much for watching this emotional story. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more powerful and inspiring stories like this, please give this video a like. I would love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our future uploads. Your support truly means the world to me. See you in the next story.